Welcome to Courtney on Health on MalcolmPresents.com with Maxine, Margot Rubin, and Courtney Gravenese.
Yeah.
Gravenese. Anyway, take it over, Max.
Okay, so a hail and hearty hello to Courtney and Malcolm, and again, welcome to Courtney on Health. It's the Zoomcast series, and I don't know if we're gonna still we're still surviving the pandemic because there's all these variants floating around. So I'm assuming we should keep this for now. And we're talking about with Courtney. She's giving us tips on nutrition and exercise. Courtney's a registered dietitian with a Master of Science in Nutrition and Applied Physiology. And she's also an experienced nutritional and health consultant in the New York metro area and now beyond, because now it's going global. It's global. And she will help you on a path to wellness and health. So I'm gonna do a lyric to a song that my brother up above right now wrote when he was a mere teenager. I wanted to play the music, it just didn't kind of work out, but maybe at some point we'll figure that out. But it's called Some People Sleep, and it's very apropos to what we're talking about. So it was just like under a 2-minute song, but it was beautiful. And this is just some of the words. Some people sleep to the sound of the steam in the pipes. Good night, sleep well. Good night, sleep well. Some people sleep to the sound of the waves on the shore. Good night, sleep well. Good night, sleep well. Some people sleep to the sound of the falling bombs. Good night, sleep well. Good night, sleep well. And some people don't sleep at all. So, what does it take to get a deep, healthful sleep? That song always gets me, and if listening to it this morning, it really did get me. I'm just sorry we can't get the audio to work good.
I have one question. I don't know who would sleep with the sound of bombs.
People in countries that are war torn.
I don't know if they sleep.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. They probably get used to it and they sleep. Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's certain parts of the world that happens,
Yeah,
and this was written in the late 60s when Vietnam was pretty, but anyway, so back to our topic, which is what does it take to get a deep, healthful sleep? I remember as a kid an advertisement for this sleep aid called Sominex, and the tagline was, "Take Sominex tonight and sleep safe and restful, sleep, sleep, sleep." When I heard that commercial growing up, I didn't realize that people had problems falling asleep. After all, I was a kid and slept like a log. I was used to hearing the song, "The Lion Sleeps Tonight." And though the lion set a good example for getting sleep, especially in the jungle, I couldn't think of people not being able to sleep well. In today's topsy-turvy world, many people are sleep deprived. I think I'm included in that to some way. The amount of populace experiencing strange dreams and lack of sleep is quite commonplace today, especially in COVID times. So what is going on, and how do we get a better night's sleep without Ambien, Unisom, Lunesta, Xanax, hemp oil extract, and the popular melatonin?
Yeah.
Today, Courtney will discuss the importance of sleep and give us some tips to help you slumber off to dreamland. So Courtney, how can sleep help you stay well? And what tips can you share that can help everyone get better sleep?
Absolutely. So I have to say that probably right after my nutrition classes that I do and worksite wellness, the Sleep Well for Wellness seminar is one of the top 3 in terms of how popular it is. People are so hungry for information about how to either get to sleep better, stay asleep better quality, because you're right, Maxine, sleeping as a baby is a term, that we all know, and it really is reserved mostly for babies, young people. As many people get older, their sleep patterns change. There's more just simply going on in the brain. So it affects our ability to not just calm to go to sleep, but stay asleep. So we'll try and cover all that today. A little bit of history about where sleeping at night kind of came from. And first of all, you guys know that I'm a dietitian and I'm an exercise physiologist. I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a sleep specialist, but I've been giving this class for a long, long time. So I know the topic really, really well. Researchers believe it's an adaptive mechanism, right? So to rest under darkness, to save yourself, because it was easier to hide that. So if nobody could find you in the darkness, why don't we sleep during that time? So there's all sorts of theories about why do we sleep at night and not during the day? And that appears to be one of them. We do go through 4 sleep cycles. Used to be considered 5, now we're down to 4 because they've consolidated 2 of them. 4 sleep cycles throughout the night. And we spend varying degrees of time during each of those cycles. Most people are familiar with the dream cycle, which you guys probably know is the REM, so rapid eye movement, but that's just one of the sleep cycles, and that's actually considered more of a deeper phase of sleep. Earlier on would be more of a lighter phase of sleep when you could be awakened very easily. So think of that twilighting, that maybe if you're just starting to doze off those first 15 minutes of going to sleep, that would be that early phase. So that the numbers that we hear, roughly 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, at least for adults, is coming from how many times that we're cycling through those 4 phases of sleep in order to get through a restful period of sleep throughout the night. So that's where the 7 to 9 comes from, is that amount of time is required to move through all of those cycles. Now, there's no way to program ourselves to say, okay, I want to spend more time in deeper sleep than I am going to sleep in light sleep. We can't program ourselves to do that, but what we can do is set a pathway to create habits from everything from what we eat, what we drink, pre-bedtime routines. You guys, I've got kids. I know you guys have kids. We always, with babies, they tell you at a very young age, they need routine. They need routine and regularity. That's the case, but it's also the case as adults as well. We need a pre-bedtime routine that's going to help with better quality sleep in the long run. So sleep is not just for, okay, I want to feel well rested the next day. Right? I don't want to be groggy. I want to be able to stay focused. And although we have tremendous amounts of data to suggest that, particularly in students, better rested, better academics, better retainment of information. In adults, we see, in terms of sleep deprivation, we see safety issues that arise if you're not getting adequate sleep. Now, I'm not just talking about maybe an occasional misstep, you just 1 or 2 bad nights of sleep. I'm really talking about chronic sleep deprivation. So it's going on for weeks, months, perhaps years, where you're getting improper sleep, either not enough hours or just poor quality sleep, irrespective of how many hours that you are sleeping.
You had mentioned students. I seem to remember that the best sleep that I've had when I was a student is, a teenager, is when I would come home from school, which 2, 3 o'clock, whether it be high school or college, and go to sleep for about 2 hours or maybe 3 hours, wake up and do my work. And I could go to sleep then at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 6 o'clock and only have like 4 or 5 hours sleep, but feel rested, not having the block of sleep, at the same time, not having my 7 to 9 hours together, but broken up during the day. I don't know if there's any studies.
You're definitely onto something with regards to napping. Now, unfortunately, based on what we know right now, the 2-hour nap is probably just a little too long. Now, of course, college students are going to walk to the beat of their own drum no matter what you tell them. So, but generally, napping for that length of time, remember we said that those 4 cycles of sleep, what you're forcing your body to do during that 2-hour window is say, okay, I'm starting to move through those cycles, and then you short circuit it and then you pull out. So then you go on, you try to get to bed at night and it does get confused. So napping, good, but generally try not to do it too late in the day. and you want to keep it shorter than 30 minutes. That seems to be the sweet spot of just enough time to refresh, but not so long that you're starting to move your way through those cycles, therefore leading to disruption later in the day. So I'm glad you brought that up, Malcolm, because napping was definitely one of the things that we were going to talk about. So in addition to safety, we've got more and more research about sleep deprivation and how it leads to cardiovascular disease. So if you think about it, your body during the night, it's your only time to really just decompress. Heart rate's low, blood pressure's low, your body does repair, it does its internal sort of housekeeping, memory retention, restoration. So all of these things are happening while we're sleeping. So although we feel good, your body's super busy during that time. So if you're not allowing your heart rate to drop down, your blood pressure to come down, you're asking your heart to do even more work than it typically does. So we know that chronic sleep deprivation and disruption is going to lead to a greater risk of cardiovascular disease.
What should we do in preparation of going to sleep? A lot of people are either watching TV or paying their bills. Is there a certain procedure that we should do that calms us down, that makes us more susceptible to a good night's sleep?
Yeah. Since you asked the question, let's start there, and then we'll work backwards from there. Any bedtime routine that is going to lead to calm is going to be a better result. So, for example, and you guys are going to laugh, and so did my clients whenever I was giving this seminar. I said the recommendation is to 2 hours before you're ready to go to bed, you need to shut down all devices. Now, exactly. Thank you. That's the laugh.
No, I can't even imagine in this day and age that really happening.
Yeah. So after getting laughed at, I would say, okay, let's work on this. How about you start with 15 minutes before, and then we'll try and creep backwards from there. So any little bit you can move off of those devices is going to help. Why? We know about the blue light that's emitted from any device, whether it be television, whether it be your phone, whether it be your laptop, doesn't matter what it is going to disrupt your ability to sleep, usually because of its ability to monkey with your melatonin levels, which is your sleep hormone. Yeah. So we don't want anything interfering with that. The other thing is typically what we're doing on our devices is not always a calming experience. Now, I'm going to talk in a second about those apps and those things that are actually meant to help with sleep, but usually people are finishing up work. They might be in a heated conversation with a spouse, a friend, a mother, father, kids, whatever it is. Oftentimes, it's not very sleep conducive activities. So you have to do an assessment of what exactly is it that you're doing. And still, even if it's something very pleasant, you want to pull back from that and just separate yourself from your devices. And any type of relaxation technique, meditation, deep breathing exercises, something called progressive muscle relaxation. All of these things, I know we have a very short time together, but all of these things can be researched. And although I struggle with this because here I am, I always encourage people to spend less time on their devices. And here I am sending you to a device to research how to do these relaxation techniques. Deep breathing is one of the easier ones. Progressive muscle relaxation. What better time to do that than while you're lying in bed trying to get to sleep? So literally it's pretending that there's like a blue light that you're moving through your body. And as it moves through your body, your muscles are starting to relax. So it's a great time to practice that technique, and you have a greater chance of perhaps getting to sleep a little bit more peacefully and maybe staying asleep if you practice these on a regular basis.
Courtney, you talking about things that'll calm you down and help you sleep better. Does sex help you sleep better? Because people have sex mostly at night, and it tends to calm you down in a way. Is that something that's been explored within the realm of sleep?
You know what? I think
I'm just throwing it out there because I read it somewhere and it was
no. I think anecdotally, if you talk to most people, they will say that it is a great, talk about it's great muscle movement, and then and then you relax. So I think anecdotally people do sleep better. In terms of real data, I'm not sure if it's there, but the reality is it's one of those things, it's not going to hurt you. So
I came across it, so I figured I'll throw this monkey wrench in just for a second.
no, we like monkey wrenches. That's always,
I don't know, but,
Yeah,
but
but
again,
exercise, speaking of muscle, exercise is a tricky one because although exercise we know, along with what you're eating, is going to be helpful overall with sleep, it really does depend on what time of day you're sleeping. And although I hesitate to ever monkey with somebody who's exercising regularly, but the recommendation generally is to try to avoid exercise. Remember, we've talked about this before, there's that endorphin rush that you're feeling. What you don't want is a bout of exercise and you're still in that high when you're trying to get to sleep. So generally you don't want to exercise. You want to give yourself at least 2 hours before trying to get to bed. But again, I'm always hesitant because if some people don't work out until late in the day and that just works for them.
Yeah, I find
But
out
that
that I
might
don't
be
know if it's a
something.
matter of age, but I tend to go to sleep watching boring movies or watching a series. All of a sudden, I'm watching it, and the next thing I know, I'm asleep
Right.
because it sort
I
of
know,
turns
but
my
what
mind
about,
off.
remember, I know, but remember it seems like a great idea but falling asleep to a television really flies in the face of what at least researchers know about. You may fall asleep well, but it's probably impacting perhaps quality of sleep later on. Now, Malcolm, if you're one of these people that you can have coffee, you can watch late night movies, you can be on your device until 1 o'clock and your sleep is totally fine, there are always exceptions in the
Yeah,
rule.
yeah,
So I think everybody needs to do a little personal assessment, right?
yeah. Coffee puts me
Of
to sleep.
what
The caffeine doesn't keep me up. It's the warmth of it. I could have coffee or tea or something hot, and that warm feeling helps me sleep.
So you're an anomaly. So like I said, everybody has to do a little bit of an
Stop laughing,
assessment.
Max.
sorry. It just hit me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's talk a little bit. You mentioned coffee. Again, you need to do your own assessment. Generally, the half-life of coffee for some people can be 12 hours. So it's not just coffee, it's any caffeinated beverage. You're going to really want to watch, particularly if you're having problems getting to sleep, what time of day you're having coffee if you are a coffee drinker. Being mindful of the fact that as we get older, okay, we sort of metabolize things differently. And you might have been able to drink a cup of coffee at 25, but now you're, in the afternoon and you were fine, but now you're 45 and it may be impacting you. You constantly have to do just a reevaluation of how your body responds to certain things. Maxine, you mentioned some of these over-counter medications. Certainly they're available. I think that most folks would be better served by trying to do those things that don't involve these medications, even though they're safe and they're available over the counter. Try other things first before you go to them, because A, they will not work over time. They may work initially, but what we know about these over-the-counter medications is eventually your body tends to override their ability to work. And of course, this goes without saying, you never want to take over-the-counter medication without consulting with your healthcare provider first. There may be an interaction that you're not aware of. The same thing goes for supplements. Maxine, you mentioned melatonin. It happens to be one of the more popular sleep aid supplements available. So we said before, your body produces its own melatonin, but you can buy it over the counter. Most of the data seems to suggest it's really most helpful for trying to correct things like if you've been traveling different time zones and jet lag. However, if you want to, with the approval of your healthcare provider, try, give it a try. You take it at night. The dose is can be as low as 0.5 milligram. I've seen it to mostly 5 milligram dose. And you want to give it a try, okay? If it's not working for you, then it's just something that just doesn't work for you, and then you stop. Because there's no point in continuing to take it if you're not seeing any benefit from it.
During the pandemic, they said, people's sleep cycles were off. People needed that melatonin because they were having crazy dreams. They were having very difficult time sleeping. So I think melatonin was really like a very high selling supplement. I don't know what else there is that you can get.
Well, in terms of, now their mechanism is different, right? So the melatonin, if it's going to work. So most of the research on melatonin is it's better as a let me help somebody get to sleep, not so helpful, or not as helpful, I should say, if you're having irregular sleep throughout the night. So do keep that in mind. But again, give it a shot. As long as your healthcare provider says it's okay. Remember, there are certain conditions, diabetes being one of them, certain medications that you do not want to take with melatonin. So even though you can get it over the counter, you want to make sure that your doctor knows about this.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll tell you, certain sleep interruptions now. As one gets older, I don't know if it happens to the female as well as to the man, but people wake up to go to the bathroom. I mean, whether it's 2, 3, 4 times. I heard different people, go like 4 or 5 times a night.
It is more common in men, assuming now pregnant women is different because of the pressure on the bladder, but because of some very benign sort of prostate issues that men can have as they get older, putting pressure on the bladder, it does trigger greater feelings of urgency to go to the bathroom. So that is something to definitely speak to a healthcare provider about. Thank you for bringing that up, because I remember vividly I had a client. Some of the tweaks that you can do involve either over-the-counter medication. So even something like things to help, like ephedrine and things like that. I know that this is not, many of these aren't available any longer, but cold medications, things to help with a cough, have stimulants in them that actually may be preventing you from going to sleep. So take a look at that. Prescription medication, Lasix, things that help with blood pressure. Some of these things that help with prostate disease, these are going to affect your urgency to want to go to the bathroom. So if you're taking it at night, then of course you're going to want to go to the bathroom several hours later. Maybe if your doctor says it's okay, shift it to a different time of day so that at least having to go to the bathroom is not the reason why you're getting up.
Yeah.
So that's sort of an easier tweak.
When I've had some of those problems, my urologist said, number 1, alcohol is bad. Don't drink alcohol. And number 2, he said, spicy food also stimulates the bladder. But then he said another thing, which I don't think anyone, he said tension, aggravation, worries can also be bad.
Yeah, I mean, but there is no magic wand
Right.
to get rid of that, right? So, of course, all of those things that help with calming the mind, calming the body, fortifying the body will ultimately help with sleep. You mentioned alcohol, and even though alcohol is a depressant, the class of drug in which it sits is depressant. So it's like, well, if it's a depressant, then it should help me sleep. Remember, we keep coming back to those cycles. What it does, unfortunately, is it short circuits you right to that later stage of sleep, and you bypass all of the other stages. All of the stages are important. So what you don't want to do is take something that's going to bypass that and put you, so you're getting the hours of sleep if you've had too much alcohol, but unfortunately you're not having the quality of sleep with too much alcohol. So I'm not talking about a glass of wine or something, but if it's an excessive amount, that might be something that's interfering with your sleep. So again, do a self-assessment of these things that might be causing some problems. Before I leave supplements, 2 minerals that have been studied, calcium, magnesium, because of, in part, their ability to be a muscle relaxant, is a common combination. You can either buy it together, calcium, magnesium together, or you can buy them separately and put them together yourself. Generally, you want twice as much calcium as you do magnesium. Generally, it's a 500 milligram to 250 milligram combination. Again, check with your healthcare provider, make sure there might not be any interactions. And just because you get it over the counter doesn't mean you can double up or triple up on it. Particularly with magnesium, where we know that above 600 milligrams, you're going to run into some issues with some side effects. It's something to certainly try. Give it a shot. You got to give it at least 6 weeks, many times even 3 months, to give it some chance to build up in your body. But chances are by 6 weeks or so, you'll know whether it's going to work for you or not in terms of an option.
How about I got a question. How about like these essential oils like lavender and certain things that are calming? Like I swear by lavender. I mean, I get it and you can just put it on literally, your wrist and just like breathe it in. And I have, because I'm not I used to be a great sleeper, not as much anymore, but I really find it helps me in actually falling asleep. My problem is I'll fall asleep on the couch for an hour and then I'll go watch late night TV and then I'll go to sleep.
Right.
So the lavender, it's because I'm just, wacky. But I what anything on those oils that or things you can breathe in that will calm you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think for many people, some of the essential oils, some people like more, maybe you mentioned lavender. Some people like maybe more of a flowery, less flowery, I mean, and more, and I don't want to say too minty because that can be almost energizing, but a light sort of mint. So it's very variable in terms of those that calm, I mean, those that stimulate, but if it's working for you, I think all of these things should be tried. There is no harm in them. Creating an oasis in your bedroom is one of the ways to really help create. Remember, we talked about that routine. So maybe it's essential oils. Maybe it's hearing just the sound of waves, like a sound machine. And for many folks, I will say, try an old school. I don't want to send people out to spend stuff. I know there's an app for that. I have it. It's the white noise app, and it has things from fans to waterfall to rain. So all of these different options, it's available, but sometimes old school works, better. And again, I'm trying to separate people from their phones. So I'm hesitant to say, okay, get that app, get the white noise app, and then the phone is right next to your nightstand again. But essential oils, the sounds that you might hear, anything that will preserve that oasis in your room to create an environment of calm is going to lead you in the right way. Speaking of which, look at your room, look at your bedroom. Is it a big mess? Is there chaos in your room, right? Is there stuff all over the place? Is there maybe light coming in from the window that could be keeping you up? Is there a constant noise that's outside of your window that could be keeping you up? Well, these are sort of housekeeping things that can be addressed, right? Tidy up your room. Try not to work in your room. And I know that was difficult. We're moving out of COVID, but during this past year plus, people had to work in their homes. And for some people, that meant, unfortunately, working in their bedroom. Well, you've pulled something that could be a source of stress into the place that really is designed for just sleep and sex. And that's it, right? So we really want to take a look. That's an easy fix. What does your bedroom look like? Create that calm, invest in room darkening shades. If it's light coming in from outside your window, do that white noise, or even just a fan. A regular old fan in your room, that whirring noise. It allows you to focus on, think about it. It's almost like that from meditation.
Shante, Shante.
Yeah, it's say, okay, if your brain is focusing on that noise, it's less likely to be running through your to-do list.
When I'm thinking, are plants in the bedroom beneficial because they take up the carbon dioxide and
No, there's no harm in it. I
they
actually
give
think
out
it's
oxygen.
good. Yeah, the more plants in your home, the better, quite frankly, so providing it's not a poinsettia and you have a cat. So, yeah, so that's great stuff. Like, I love the essential oil that Maxine, I always, people use candles a lot. I used to be, okay, candles are great. Now I have to sort of hit pause on that because it becomes a fire hazard. You will go to sleep probably. And then of course you've got a lit candle in your room. Take a look at your bed. Okay, if you've had the same mattress since, high school, it's time to, get a new mattress, flip it when you're supposed to. Do you guys know how often you're supposed to flip your mattress?
When it doesn't feel good.
That too.
I have a Tempur-Pedic mattress, and we flipped it, but you don't have to flip it as much as the regular mattress. But what about? I have a quick. What's the answer to that question before I ask you something quick?
Oh, okay. It's time zone. Every time you change the clocks.
Oh, okay.
So basically, twice a year. And before
daylight.
You leave the bedroom, if your pillow does this, all right, and stays like that, it's probably time to get some new pillows, right? Now, it doesn't mean you have to get a super firm one. It doesn't mean you can do so, but you need some neck support. You need something to keep you from doing this. And then you don't want it so fluffy that your chin is down in your chest. So somewhere in between there. So those are some basic, just sort of housekeeping tips. What's your question, though, Maxine?
What's popular now are these weighted blankets.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that? It
So
seems to
it's
be popular.
Yes, yes. In fact, we were going to get one for my dad because and now he's on his own now. It's supposed to replace the hug because they've done research that hug releases those feel-good hormones. It's helpful for relieving stress, which of course will lead to better sleep. Well, we hope would lead to better sleep. So I think if you're somebody who lives on your own, the price isn't gonna, break the bank for you. And you don't mind that because some people are very sensitive to having that weight on them while they're sleeping. So if all of that works for you, I think that there's certainly no harm. It's not like an electric blanket, it's just purely extra weight. So it's not like it's dangerous. So I'm all for it, particularly if you're not somebody who's, getting a lot of hugs these days.
We need hugs. We need more
Well,
hugs.
you're talking about ways of sleeping. I cannot, when I go to a hotel, I cannot sleep with my feet tucked in. When they tuck the blanket or the sheet underneath, I have to kick that out and have my feet have
A
fresh
lot of
air.
people do that, especially there was a Seinfeld episode with George. They were in a hotel room with Jerry, and they didn't want they got upset about the thing being tucked in. It was silly things like that, but I think a lot of people feel that way actually with that.
But you're very much in tune with your body, which is great. You're listening to what you need or don't need, to help you go to sleep. Before we leave food, I just want to mention, I think we've talked about cherries and tart cherry juice before as being a natural source of melatonin. So we're in cherry season now, so not going to hurt. They're full of flavonoids. So there's a whole host of other reasons why cherries are going to be good for you. But they may be helpful in terms of, more tools in your toolbox to help you get to sleep.
Just don't swallow the pits.
Season, tart. What's that?
Just don't swallow the pits.
Don't swallow the pits, he said.
Don't swallow the pits. Tart cherry juice. About half a cup to a cup 2 times a day. In some research has been shown to be helpful. Again, it may work, it may not. It's worth giving it a shot. And you want to make sure that the ingredients, it just says tart cherry juice. That's it. Not diluted with anything else. No pear juice, apple juice, nothing else except tart cherry juice.
Guys, I hate to interrupt us, but our time is up.
Wow, that went fast.
Yeah. It always goes fast.
Now, my last question is, how about marijuana? How does that affect the sleeping of the system? Some people swear by it.
You know what? I really can't. I'm not and they are, CBD specialists, so that's not my area. I'm always very hesitant, Malcolm, to recommend something that, now CBD is different than marijuana. So I would say if you can get the benefits from CBD oils and things like that, I think it's perhaps worth a shot, but I have to sort of step back and be careful about, get high every night and see how it works for you.
All the college kids won't like you too much today.
Did they make marijuana legal in New York now? Some people have said yes, some people no.
Yes, it is.
Recreational also?
Recreational is legal now here.
Okay.
So,
because I know California's been that way for a while.
Yeah, well, you guys were one of the first. Colorado was first. That Rocky Mountain High. Then they had to explain what that is. So now we really know. So
anyway, Courtney, tell us how we get in contact with you.
Oh, you can always find me on my website, CourtneyGravenese.com, on Instagram, which is CLG Wellness, and of course, the Courtney on Health Facebook page. Send us your comments, questions, things that tell me what you're feeling, what works for you. Did we not cover something that works for you as a real helpful addition to get you to sleep or stay asleep? We want to hear, your thoughts and what hasn't worked or what is working, and I'll be sure to get back to you.
Okay. Oh, by the way, I
Great.
have a recommendation. I know it's very popular. If you can't sleep, you binge watch. And we could binge watch Courtney on Health. Just go to malcolmpresents.com. You could do show number 1 to the present show and watch it and take notes and ask
Just not 10
questions.
minutes before you go to sleep, right?
No, you gotta do it a few hours before.
Then
Then you can do
sometimes
it.
you can't sleep no matter what you do. I'm
So
sure you
just-
guys have tossed and turned, and for whatever you think, you just cannot sleep. That's a
All
time.
right, now I
turn
know
off
we're
your
over,
computer.
Malcolm, but I have to say this because this is important, because that's a lot of, and my client base has that problem. If you're in bed and you've been in bed for like 45 minutes and you can't get to sleep, leave the bedroom. Keep the lights low. Don't turn the television on. Go sit on a couch. Go sit in a separate room. Do some deep breathing. Take a drink of water. Remove yourself from the bedroom. This is what the sleep specialists recommend. Then go back in after a little bit of time when you're starting to feel sleepy and try it again. There is no benefit in sitting in there for hour after minute after hour and not getting to sleep. Just
Good.
leave the room, try again.
Good
That's a very
advice.
good tip for me, especially.
Well, what
So-
I think I'm going to do is now go take a nap.
Good idea. Time for a nap, Malcolm. So we're gonna sign off then, I guess. Again, thanks for joining us for Courtney on Health. And Courtney already gave all her info. For more shows, you can go, as Malcolm said, to malcolmpresents.com, theManyShadesOfGreen.com, go to CourtneyGravities.com. And just here we are, Courtney on Health, smart, sound nutrition, strong, safe fitness. And we will catch you next time.
And
Have
aside
some
from
cherries.
anything else, cherries taste great.
Cherries
Oh my
are
God,
delicious.
So good. Love them.
Bye, guys.
Bye.